When did love from your family come with the worst possible price? The lake house had been in our family for 4 generations. Every summer, we gathered there for 2 weeks of swimming, barbecues, and family bonding. My earliest memories were formed on that weathered dock, learning to fish with my father Brian, making friendship bracelets with my sister Ava, listening to Uncle Archibald's stories about our ancestors who built the place in 1902. When I was 12, my grandmother Marjorie started the tradition of selecting one grandchild to receive the blessing each summer. She would spend hours with each of us individually, asking about our dreams, our struggles, our accomplishments. Then at the final dinner, she would announce which grandchild had impressed her most that year. The chosen one received a gold pin shaped like a key, symbolic of the lake house, which would someday belong to the grandchild who collected the most pins by the time Marjorie passed. I won my first key at 16 after starting a literacy program at my high school. My cousin Allison won the following year for her state championship in swimming. Ava won when she got accepted to medical school. We took to wearing our pins during family gatherings, a visual tally of who was ahead. The summer I turned 25, I arrived at the lake house with Justin, my boyfriend of 2 years. No one in my family had met him before, as he always made excuses to avoid family gatherings. But this time, I insisted he come. During my private session with grandmother, she placed her hands over mine and told me she was concerned about Justin. She said there was something calculating in the way he looked at the house, at the family heirlooms, at her. Family tradition matters more than temporary feelings, she said. I fear he sees you as a path to inheritance, not as someone to love. I left her room furious. That night at dinner, Allison received the key pin, her 4th, putting her in the lead. As everyone applauded, I looked around the table at my family. These people who claimed to love me but couldn't accept the man I had chosen. Justin was livid when we returned to our cabin. He paced the small room, ranting about how they had deliberately snubbed us. For the first time, he openly talked about our inheritance and how much the property must be worth. I pretended not to notice the slip. The next morning, we left early. I didn't return for 3 years. During that time, my relationship with Justin deteriorated further. He isolated me from friends, saying they were a bad influence. He monitored my spending, insisting I justify every purchase. When I mentioned visiting my parents, he would start arguments that lasted for days. He began pushing me to ask my grandmother about her will, about the value of the lake house, about my standing in the key pin competition. Then came the call that grandmother Marjorie had suffered a stroke. Despite Justin's objections, I drove 5 hours to the hospital. When we were allowed to visit 2 at a time, my father Brian insisted I go with him. She reached for my hand and pressed something into it. A key pin, newer than my others. You're still my granddaughter, she whispered. Family is family, no matter what. When I returned home, Justin found the pin while going through my purse. He became obsessed with it, asking detailed questions about the inheritance system, about how many pins everyone had, about grandmother's condition. For the first time, I saw him clearly, not as the man who loved me, but as someone who saw me as a path to wealth. Grandmother recovered slowly, returning to the lake house with a nurse. The summer gathering approached and I decided to attend, without telling Justin. I left while he was at work, leaving only a note saying I needed time with my family. On my arrival, grandmother shared what my family had observed about Justin, from simple observation during that weekend 3 years ago. How he examined everything in the house like he was appraising it. How he asked my uncle pointed questions about lakefront property values. How he mentioned inheritance multiple times in casual conversation. On the final night, we gathered for the blessing ceremony. Grandmother announced that she was changing the rules. The lake house would be placed in a family trust, ensuring all descendants would have access for generations to come. No more competition, no more pins. As everyone processed this announcement, she called me forward and handed me a small velvet box. Inside was a single gold key. Not a pin, but an actual key. This is to the family document safe, she said. You've learned the most important family value, recognizing when love becomes poison. I trust you to be the keeper of our history going forward. Later that night, I discovered what the key unlocked. The family safe contained journals revealing how the lake house tradition had destroyed relationships repeatedly. My great-grandfather's brother hadn't spoken to the family after losing his chance at inheritance. My grandmother's sister had sued over what they claimed was an unfair advantage given to Marjorie. When I returned home, Justin was waiting. He had found the lake house listing online and calculated its worth. He demanded to know what had happened, if I had secured our inheritance. When I told him about the trust, about the end of the competition, he lost control. He smashed a lamp against the wall, called me worthless, threatened to take half of anything I ever inherited. I left that night. 3 months later, grandmother passed away. I was named executor of the trust. Allison contested the will, and the legal battle has torn the family apart again. Is any inheritance worth the cost of seeing people as they really are?